All right, let's do this.
We're living on a disk, floating through space, with a tiny sun.
Hey, I'm FTFE, welcome back to the channel that does to stupidity what Reds Rhetoric's face does to every single mirror he ever looks in. So, on Monday, I debated, well, me and Reds both debated Ace the Moon Landing Denier. And he issued Reds a bet that if he could prove that the mountains in the distance were actually the distance that were said, then he would get $500. So we're going to actually go through the evidence that Reds has managed to put together and... Oh, sorry, one sec. Hello? Yes, Mr. NASA. Hi, sir. Yeah, I got Agent Reds here. That's fine. Yeah, no, we're gonna talk about the moon landing thing. Yeah, look, we know you faked it. But we've got to pretend. So Reds is gonna do that. Okay. Yeah, I love you too, NASA. Bye bye. Sorry about that. NASA called. Yeah. So Reds, how you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. By the way, I couldn't help but notice that you didn't ask them where my NASA shield check has been. Now, listen, I have sometimes a problem when it comes to donkeys and donkey lap dances and shit like that. And what I'm basically trying to say is this shit ain't cheap. Well, and NASA promised me some stuff.
The thing is, you know that hologram generator they gave me? Well, that actually costs 53 million a day to get working, and they only get 52 million a day, so they don't have any spare money anymore.
You know what? We'll talk about this later. We'll talk about this later, but we're not letting it go. We are talking about this later. So, okay. Yes, yeah, but yes, I am here. I am alive still somehow, and yes, I didn't mysteriously die in a car crash.
No. So does Ace owe you some money?
I believe so, but I already know for a fact that he's most likely not going to pay up because there's always an excuse. There is always an excuse.
I mean, he's
you don't need to be.
He's not a Flerf, but he acts very much like a Flerf, so I never expected him to pay anyway.
I mean, the fact is that everything that can be brought up to these deniers, they will always find an excuse. And at that point, what can you do? So the only thing I can do is meet the challenge. I can go ahead and meet my burden, then he can go ahead and reject it, and then he's not going to pay any money, and I sure as shit ain't going to give him any of my money because I actually met my fucking burden. Mm-hmm. So there's not going to be a follow-up to this. I do not plan on ever talking to this kid again unless he decides to chat more shit on your channel. In that case, bring me on and let's go ahead and have a discussion. But I'll tell you one thing. He can go ahead and take his less than 100 subs and shove it up his ass when I'm done here.
Absolutely. Right. So basically, the challenge was that in the GIF that he brings as evidence. This is his entire evidence that the moon landings were fake, right? It's this GIF here. Let me get it looping.
Yeah.
Loop, play. So his contention is that this looks like it is on a soundstage somewhere rather than on the moon. Now, the main reason he says for this is that there is apparently a line going from the arm of the astronaut to the LEM that is indicative of the where the floor would meet the soundstage in the background. I honestly couldn't see the line he was talking about until I put it in Photoshop and up the contrast. And yes, I will admit there is a line there. He says that this line, like I said, means that there is where it's linking up to the backdrop of the soundstage. And he challenged Reds $500 to prove with maths that the mountains were in fact, was it 300 kilometers away?
Uh, no, not 300. I think he misspoke there when he said 300 kilometers away, because I would be like, bullshit, those are 300 kilometers away. If you're asking me to prove that, then you're setting up a bullshit challenge, because that's not what I would say when looking at those images. I mean, either NASA had some amazing super zoom technology that only works for the background, or he's kind of chatting shit there. But we'll just say it was a slip of the tongue and go from there.
Okay.
But I have to go back to something here. I just have to be very, very clear here. I do not believe for a single moment that this Ace Denier guy is going to pay up.
Nope.
Because as I said, there's always an excuse. Now, let me just make clear what my goal is here. My goal is to show that the images that Ace presented on your stream, dude, don't scream movie studio as the hoax hard claimed. You know, my goal is to show that it is reasonable to say that these images don't look fake and provide even more evidence that the moon landings actually happened, especially given what we know now today. I will not be getting exact measurements from these images because there's distortion, and we both agreed, especially on your hangout, that the distortions that are in the images are indeed in the images.
Yeah.
These photos are clearly not suited for the task of getting parallax measurements. So if this guy expects to just dump these two photos on me and expects me to get parallax measurements off of that, I'm sorry. I think I know what is and is not suitable imagery, because as a guy who used parallax to measure the altitude of the International Space Station, I think I have an idea of what is usable imagery and what is not.
Yeah.
And look, much to the annoyance of my mail order bride, I fucked with these two images for a few hours and could not get them to line up, Craig. I couldn't. I tried. I really, really tried. I mean, if I gave the hoaxtard this task of lining up these images, and I gave him this task to save his life, he might as well just save us a bunch of time and swan dive off the Golden Gate Bridge with cement shoes. I'm dead serious. But anyway, could you do me a favor, though?
Yeah.
I would like for you to bring up, if you still have that GIF, can you bring up the GIF that shows the line that has that shearing action going on? Because we're not going to start with parallax. I want to actually address that one first. All right, so do you have the one that has the line indicated, the shearing line?
Yeah, that's just the picture, not the GIF, though.
Oh, it's just a picture. All right,
Yeah.
bring it back to. All right, so everyone, just keep an eye on where that line is. Just memorize where it is in your head. You know, kind of starting from the shoulder of the astronaut, and go ahead and flip back to the GIF so that people can see it. So apparently, right at the astronaut's shoulder, there is a kind of like a shearing action going on. What did he say, that the landscape was sliding too much relative to what was just above that line?
Yes, that was his case.
I forget how exactly he worded it, but anyway, you can see that there is indeed a shearing going on. So yeah, but again, I'm going to go ahead and say that there's two things going on here. One, the images are distorted as hell because, let's face it, they fucking are. But two, I actually countered this by saying that it could be a fall off in the actual terrain. Now, here's what the claim is. And Craig, correct me if I'm wrong here. He says the shearing is caused because that is the edge of the movie studio. That's the edge of the stage.
Yes, that's his
and
claim.
that is where the stage meets the backdrop, and that is why you're seeing that shearing motion back and forth. Is that, or is that not his claim?
That is his claim. Yeah.
Okay.
He claims that just where the line is in obviously this image, that at that point there's a parabolic backdrop that is supposed to resemble, you know, what is on the moon, and that they got the right dimensions because they looked at the moon beforehand. So that's why you see in the GIF the floor seems to shear slightly more than the mountain just behind it.
Mm-hmm. So when we look at this one, at this GIF right here, we just have to repeat the claim. The claim here is that this is where the stage ends and the parabolic backdrop begins. Why did they use a parabolic backdrop? We don't fucking know, but don't get past anything, the hoaxers, I guess. Yeah. Now, I countered this by saying that that edge may not be an edge, but it could just be a fall off in the terrain on the moon. Now, he was quick to counter this by... Yeah, he outright denied, and there was a reason why he denied it. He was quick to counter this by saying that the topographical maps, like the one posted on alewis.com, which is a conspiracy website, show that no such fall-off exists. And the map in question on that particular website is labeled Figure 5. Now, do you by any chance have that website available so you can show what Figure 5 looks like?
Yeah, let me just get that up. Where did I put it? Oh, I guess that was the one I didn't load in. Bear with me 1 second when I get that.
Not a problem, not a problem. Take your time, because we have nothing but.
Ace is in the chat, so hello, dum-dum.
Yippee. Yippee.
And he says, when's the math coming? Just while you're there, Ace, I honestly don't think you understand math, and I don't even think you understand what the trigonometry you were doing actually is. Right, so Figure 5, yes?
Yes, Figure 5, please.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Is that the one? Yeah, the topographical.
Yeah, that one. That's the topographical map right there. So basically, just to repeat, when I said that the shearing could be caused by a fall off in terrain, thus giving us a closer horizon to work with, which would, of course, be affected a lot easier by parallax than something further distant. He said that that is complete nonsense because topographical maps, like the one posted on alewis.com, which is where he's getting this fucking argument from, which, by the way, is a conspiracy website. Not saying that makes it wrong. So no fallacy made here, but this is where he's getting this information. And he says that this map shows that no such fall-off exists. And the map in question, once again, Figure 5. So this first claim, Craig, hinges its strength on the topographical map, which shows a deceptively smooth surface. And I can't really blame them because even overhead shots that I was able to find of the area from the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter also show a deceptively smooth surface when looking straight down. However, we know that we don't define how smooth the terrain is. Reality does. Isn't that correct, Craig?
That is correct, absolutely.
So it seems to me that reality is the arbiter of truth. The hoaxtard is simply confusing the map for the place. He is confusing his interpretation of reality as reality. And a good way of minimizing this potential problem is by making better maps of the area. And lucky for us, we have done that since the Apollo 15 missions. See, JAXA, Craig, you know, the other shill organization that hasn't paid us a fucking dime, launched something back in September of 2007, which was the Kaguya spacecraft, which placed itself into a polar orbit of the moon. Guess what it has, Craig?
Topographical maps?
Yeah, it has a terrain camera to make topographical maps, and it has a resolution of 10 meters per pixel, and has made scans of the Apollo 15 landing site. The Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter, which launched later on, which was launched on June 18th of 2009, has also been busy working making high-res 3D maps of the lunar surface, especially of the Apollo 15 landing site. The resolution on the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter is not 10 meters per second, though, Craig. It's actually, it can be pushed to half a meter per pixel, not per second. 10 meters per pixel for the Kaguya, and half a meter per pixel on LRO. So both of these spacecrafts can essentially work together to double check each other's work. So guess what happened, Craig? You're gonna love this. Guess what happened?
You did something good?
Yeah, well, I didn't do anything good. This is all Kaguya and LRO, but they agreed with each other.
Oh, right.
So
yeah,
basically,
so they backed each other up.
Yeah, they backed each other up. So basically what I'm trying to say is the country that we nuked twice agreed with us and didn't call us out on our bullshit.
And they would be
The
pretty
country,
angry and wanting to, call you out on your bullshit if there was bullshit. Because, like you said,
yeah,
you nuked them twice. Not once, but twice.
but twice, for good measure, and they still didn't call us out on our bullshit. Imagine that. So, yeah, but here's what I did. The resolution of these topographical maps has increased substantially since the 1960s and 70s. And the reason why this is important is because our Lord and Savior, Jesus Google, has made such data available to us on Google Earth. If you switch to Moon View on Google Earth, you can actually explore the Apollo 15 landing site with the topography in place. Remember, I countered his edge of stage bullshit by saying that the edge may not be an edge because it could just be a fall-off on the terrain of the moon. And he countered this by saying that topographical maps from a conspiracy website show that no such fall-off exists, which can cause that shearing action. Well, when we utilize Google itself and utilizing data from NASA and JAXA's lunar orbiters, we find something very interesting. So, Craig, if you could do me a favor.
Yeah.
I sent you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 images. Actually 10. Can you please show the 9th image that I sent you? Which is the second to last image that I sent.
You actually sent me 11 images.
No, that last one is a video. That'll be for later.
Okay, so is it this one you want?
There we go. Well, look at that. So it looks like, fuck me sideways and call me Lucy. It doesn't just have one ridge or one fall off. It has multiple.
Yeah, and just to show that that is the same point that we're talking about, you can see the same mountains in the background there.
Exactly.
So this is the actual point of the LEM, and obviously this shot is a little bit more zoomed in than the map that Red's got off of Google Moon, but that is exactly the same place, and I can see 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 drop-offs.
Yeah, there's plenty of drop-offs. Basically, what this is showing is what this is showing is that I'm sorry, Nathan Thompson's just being a fucking idiot in the chat, and it's humorous.
Oh, Nathan Thompson.
I know. Fucker. Anyway, so moving on. So the original topographical maps that Ace was showing that show a deceptively smooth surface are in fact very deceptive. This image that Craig is showing is from Google Earth, which shows that the terrain doesn't have just one fall off that can cause a shearing effect. It in fact has multiple that can cause a shearing effect. So either the denier is full of shit when he says that the terrain is perfectly smooth and there is no fall off, or the moon ran out of smoothing cream sometime after the year 2006 and is in desperate need of the proactive solution. I don't know. You tell me, which is more likely?
Well, his question in the chat is, well, which ridge is in the picture then?
Oh, don't worry. We're going to get to that right now. So, Craig, could you please do me a favor? Will you please allow me to screen share?
Yeah, I will quickly send you a Hangouts link, and you can go open that Hangout and share in there.
Ah, great. Multiple streams. What can possibly go wrong?
I figured out a way to at least get the visuals through for screen sharing. All right, so yeah. Just
Hang on, can't I just screen share on this piece of shit program that you like to keep using?
Only if you're using a virtual camera.
Oh, for fuck's sake. Fucking sideways and call me Lucy.
Just join that Hangout, mute yourself in the Hangout, and we can share whatever you want on there.
All I'm saying is that this is really annoying, and I fucking hate you sometimes.
I know you love me.
Hate.
Hate, love, what's the difference? Oh, Nathan Thompson, just while you're there, you ran like a little bitch from Team Skeptic. And then you brought a bodyguard. You coward.
All right, so let's go ahead and look at this. So I am now going to be joining the Hangout. I've muted everything, so there shouldn't be any backfeed. All right.
Okay.
You can
all
see
good.
that I'm in the Hangout?
Yeah.
All right. All right. Going to go ahead and screen share this shit. So let's go ahead and bring this up. So screen share. All right. Here it is. Screen share. So you guys can see that?
I will just... There we go. Yep.
All right, good. So this is a simulated street view of the Apollo 15 landing site, and Ace wants to ask the question, well, which ridge, Red? Which one? As you can see, I can move this all around, and I can do a virtual tour of the landing site. Now, the topography can't scan very accurately to see individual like gear, like for example the rovers or the cameras of the flag, but it's good enough to see very broad ridges, and that's exactly the resolution that we're dealing with here. As I walk past the Apollo 15, I'm going to position myself right next to it. And then what I'm going to do, Craig, and you tell me what you see here, is I'm going to step left and right. Oh, look, there's a shearing.
Yeah,
I
do see shearing, definitely.
I see shearing here. Look at that. But if I continue to walk forward and forward and forward, oh, look at that.
Ooh.
There's a fall off right there. Oh, darn it. I guess we put another nail in the coffin for the people that want to deny that Apollo 15 was a thing.
Yeah, oh, there's another flat earther, well, a flat earther in the chat called T-Stew, who also issued a bet recently for $100,000. T-Stew, I want to talk to you at some point.
Can I debunk him real quick after we're done here?
Yeah, of course you can.
Perfect. Okay, so anyway, here you can see a shearing happening by walking from left to right. So if you're wondering which ridge is causing it, it's this one. The one that they're on, the one that you asserted did not exist because of topographical maps that were insufficient for actually getting accurate data.
Okay.
Are we up to speed on this?
I'm following. Ace, are you following? Ace says, look, there's a dip right in the middle where the black lines are.
There's a dip in the middle where the black lines are.
You mean
anyway,
another ridge? Yes, there is another ridge behind that ridge that Reg just showed. Well done.
Yeah, and guess what? That dip in the original image was behind the limb. So you're not going to see that particular dip. You're going to see the actual ridge that isn't being obscured by the limb. You dumbass. I knew that you were going to say that too, so I had that reply ready to go. It's amazing how predictable you are sometimes. But anyway, with that being said, so I then asked the question, what is more likely, Craig? What is more likely? That there actually are multiple fall-offs that can cause a shearing effect, and that does not point to a soundstage, or the moon just happened to ran out of smoothing cream and just got bumpy enough to fool NASA or even JAXA and their Kaguya spacecraft? What is more likely, that this dude's full of shit, or that the moon has zits?
I'm just going to think for he's full of shit. His claims in the chat right now is there in all caps because, of course, no parallax of the mountain V-shaped dip in the middle.
Don't worry. We're going to go over the V-shaped dip that, by the way, you can't see because it is behind the lunar module. You will not be able to see something when something else is blocking the way. I think this is the same reason that we get frustrated with Flerfs when they don't understand that tall buildings can be obscured by the horizon. Why can't I see the bottom buildings? Because your line of sight's being blocked. That's why. Learn this. Anyway, so let me go ahead and go over this. This is why it is actually important to investigate claims instead of swallowing something hook, line, and sinker, because relying on pure confirmation bias is a surefire way to get yourself laughed at the debate, dude. So when you made the claim that there was no ridge and that topographical maps proved your point, I'm sorry, better maps done in the year 2007 and later on in 2009 show that that is not true, that you were in fact full of shit. The topographical maps that you were showing from the conspiracy websites are simply ineffective, inefficient, not correct. They don't represent reality all that well. So if you're hinging this shearing motion on that, I'm sorry, you have officially got owned on that point. The
Yep.
shearing does not scream movie stage. The shearing means that there is a fall off, and topographical maps that have been made since the Apollo missions show that such a fall off actually exists. So at that point,
can we
get
just
bent.
point out as well the fact that the conspiracy site, the guy, is it Dr. Oleg or whatever? What did both of us
Something
come
like
to
that.
the conclusion of about this guy?
No such PhD by that name exists.
Yeah, I've done a lot of searching, and like the guy seems to be real. He's got more than one conspiracy out there. But as far as I can see, there is no PhD by that name anywhere in the world.
Yep.
So, Ace, you're basing your stuff on a fraud to start with.
Yep. So let's go ahead and go over this here. So my conclusion here, Craig, and you tell me if I'm right or wrong here. So my conclusion is that the shearing that we see at the line does not demonstrate that these images were shot on a movie stage, and that the fall off in terrain is a damn good explanation for what we are seeing. True or false?
Based on this image, I'd say it's true.
Yeah, so that's your conclusion. That's my conclusion, and I'm going to let everyone else decide for themselves if they have come to the same conclusion I have about that single point. Anyway, you want to go ahead and talk about parallax now?
Yes, go ahead.
All right, so please bring up the GIF where it's blinking back and forth. The one without the line, just the GIF that is blinking back and forth. Thank you. So going over the parallax, so like I said, there appears to be parallax shown in the background here. The claim is that the parallax is indeed being shown with the background mountains and craters, and the really big one in the center is called the St. George crater, I believe, and it's about 4,790 meters away, 4.79 kilometers away, and that was done per my measurements on Google Moon. That means that a sidestep of less than a meter should result in no parallax shift in the background whatsoever, while having some parallax shift in the foreground. But according to the denier, there is significant shift in parallax for the background, and therefore this was a movie studio, and everything is a lie, and Ace's mother doesn't like him, and blah, 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 blah. Anyway, so the sidestep of less than 3/4 of a meter and the distance to the limb appearing to be about 28.5 meters from the observer, which is around 90 feet. Now, I had to eyeball the original shots, and I had to really stress them out and break out the fucking ruler tool on Photoshop, had to count pixels to try and get some idea where it is. And so I settled on around 90 feet, which, by the way, I'm going to assert is actually pretty good because I also went to Google Moon for this. So, Craig, can you please show the last image that I showed you, which was just under the topographical map that you just showed? It's the last one. Yeah, that. So that right there, that is what 90 feet looks like compared to the lunar module. So if he's going to claim that 90 feet is too much, I'm just going to tell him to look at this image and then tell him to eat shit. So yes, I say that that is a fair distance to guess where the observer was when taking an image of the lunar module and the rover. So using the law perspective that flat earthers still don't understand, which is alpha equals 2 times the arctan of g over 2r, where alpha is the angular size of an object, g is the actual size of the object, and r is the distance to the object, we can actually flip the script and say that the sidestep will represent our parallax because angle A will equal angle B on the other side. So a sidestep of 0.75 meters with a distance to the crater of 4,790 meters will result in a parallax value of 0.0089712 degrees. So in short, no parallax should be visible. However, when deep diving this shit during the debate, I found that the apparent parallax we are seeing could be the result of image distortion combined with a little rotation of the observer, which Ace himself admits are illustrated in the image. Correct me if I'm wrong, but during our debate, Craig, he actually did admit that there is distortion and there was rotation to the observer.
He did?
Yeah, because again, these images were not taken for the purposes of being parallax measurements, but Press On I did. I confirmed that the parallax in the foreground was accurate to anywhere between 15 to as low as 6%, but that entirely depended on how you aligned the images because, again, they cannot be done perfectly as there is distortion in the image. Every time you would get one part of the image correctly overlaid, a different part of the image would get fucked as a result. Whether it be the foreground or the background, it didn't matter. Both fell victim to this. So at this point, Craig, what I would like for you to do is I would like for you to share the image. Let's see, it is the first, second, third, fourth. I want you to share the fourth image that I sent, and then afterwards the fifth image that I sent.
Is the fourth the overlay one?
The overlay one without the lines.
Here we go.
Yes. So this was the output that I was able to get. Now, I went ahead and centered it on the background, which was the crater that is just to the right of the limb, touching the darkness of the sky. It's where the blackness of the crater meets the blackness of the sky. And as I centered it on that, you can tell that the mountain that is further to the left of the image starts to get mismatched with itself, with the other image. So the distortion is both in the foreground and in the background. Please go to the next image. So what I did was I put a visual representation of how much parallax shift we're getting, and it literally changes the further over to the right that you actually go. So this is what I was able to find with this. I concluded that with the lunar module being at 28.5 meters with a sidestep of 0.75 meters, that the leg of the limb should shift about 1.525 degrees. The first assumption here is that the distance to the lunar module is 28.5 meters and that the field of view is roughly 25 degrees. By that, that means the leg should shift and frame 1/16 of the image, while the background should have relatively no shift at all. And rotation correction in figure 29 of the conspiracy website, which we will show later, shows no shift to the background, but still shows that the leg shifting roughly 1/16 of the original image. So distortion will literally shift the angular separation between one side of the image and the other side of the image, meaning it's not just the background that's distorted. The measured image, which was the output, was 540 pixels. I did that to keep the math with not in the thousands of pixels, but in the hundreds of pixels. The shift on the left side of the image was about 25 pixels in this image. The shift on the right was about 55 pixels in this image. Out of 540 pixels, that gives us a ratio between 1/23 and 1/23 for the left and 1/11 for the right. This resulted in an image of 0.0665, with the predicted result being 1/16, which is 0.625. With this, we got an answer that was accurate to within 6% when it comes to the foreground of the image. But again, and I didn't show this, but when you aligned it with the mountain in the background, you actually get slightly worse parallax. So the parallax actually shifts, but when you take the averages of everything that we have found, I actually found that the averages came out to around, around 6% to around like 15%. It just depended on how you align the images because you cannot align them perfectly. So my conclusion is that the value is more than good enough to say that the parallax is true for the foreground and is acceptable given the shit fuckery with the images not being made for parallax measurements. So for this Ace guy who says that there is no math, let me go ahead and repeat one more time. The baseline, which is the sidestep, is 0.75 meters. The distance to limb is 28.5 meters or 93.5 feet, which I was able to verify on Google, on the Google Moon view. Distance to St. George crater is 4,790 meters, and that means that the parallax of St. George crater should be 0.0089712 degrees. Parallax of the leg of the limb should be 1.525 degrees. The conclusion here is that with the field of view being around 25 degrees, the leg should shift in that case of around 1/16 of the entire diameter of the image, while the background should have relatively no shift at all. Parallax measurements and counting pixels after the images are overlaid showed a shift of 25 pixels for the left and around 55 pixels for the right. This resulted in a ratio of 1/23 for the left and 1/11 for the right. This resulted in an average of 0.0665 with a predicted 1/16th result of 0.0625. With this, we have an answer that seems to be accurate to within 6%. This value is more than acceptable given the shitfuckery with the images not being made for parallax measurements. And with this, and to solidify the parallax, I would like for you to go to figure, I believe it was 29 on the conspiracy site.
Yeah, let me just get that up. Full screen, desktop capture, cool transition. Figure 29.
Figure 29, please.
17, 20, 23, 26, 28, figure 29.
All right, perfect. So that is after the correction has been made, where he kind of bent the background image so to see if every dot, smudge, and speck on that crater can be accounted for. And guess what? It can. Now, if you add new information to an image, if you see something from a different perspective, a truly different perspective, no amount of bending or distorting is going to allow you to line up those images together. For example, if I have a cylinder and around the circumference of that cylinder, I have colored dots. If I switch my perspective over a little bit, I will start to see the color of a different dot. If I try to twist and distort or whatever, that is a new piece of information that was not accounted for in the previous image. Therefore, you cannot overlay them together and call them exactly the same. Here, we're not seeing that. Every crater, every dot, every smudge, every speck on that hillside can be accounted for, which means that this motherfucker just demonstrated that no meaningful parallax is seen in the background. We confirmed that the parallax in the foreground is fine, and we confirmed that the parallax in the background should be unrecognizable, unnoticeable. It's slight. And when he applies the correction, there is no parallax in the background. Nothing whatsoever. But if you think we're done here, oh boy, are you sadly mistaken. We are not done here. We are not done here. So here's the thing. The denier and even the conspiracy site that we're looking at right now, they even assert that the background has distortion. It has distortion in the first place. So one can easily say, well, we can't use these images in the first place, which is exactly what I've been saying the entire fucking time. So moving on, I decided to go beyond the images to see if there was anything else that can verify the Apollo 15 missions happened and that the terrain we're seeing is real and that the scale would be accurate and whatever. So, Craig, I'm going to ask you to bring up that video, and please skip to 1 minute 18, and let's sit back, relax, and listen for a bit.
Okie dokie, just give me one
I would like people to hear this, because remember, my challenge was to demonstrate that those mountains are very far away and not very close. Well, let's go ahead and do this. I did this, I found this while researching, and this was actually pretty fun.
Okay, here we go. And I can play that there.
However, Kaguya shows us something that could not possibly have been seen in the early 70s, unless, of course, man really went to the moon. Those missions brought us hundreds of photos from the surface, images of terrain that can't be seen unless a camera is actually there. Because Kaguya's terrain camera is mapping the surface of the moon in 3D, it's possible to look at the surface from any angle, including eye level. That's exactly what this image released by JAXA is. To those familiar with Apollo 15, this may look a little familiar. And that's because this 3D image is from precisely the place where Apollo 15 landed. It was taken from 100 kilometers above, but it was rotated digitally to be seen as from eye level. Kaguya discovered that the views given to us from Apollo 15 were exactly, precisely, perfect, and real. The new image from Kaguya verifies that Apollo 15 was on the moon, because in 1971, 3D technology did not exist, and there would be no possible way to show this terrain unless a photo was taken from this exact point. NASA had an image of mountains that would not be seen from this angle until 37 years later. That would not have been possible unless Apollo 15 was actually there on the moon. Now, could there be objections to this? Oh, there's always objections. None of them are reasonable.
Yeah.
So right there. Now, I want people to understand what that image was. That was the image of St. George's crater. St. George's crater, which is the same crater that was shown in the background of the two images that were being blinked back and forth. And this, JAXA was able to launch their lunar imager before we were able to. Theirs launched, I believe, in 2007. And yeah, 2007, in September of 2007. And we didn't launch the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter until June 18th of 2009. So that means that JAXA had a head start of a few years and could easily call us out on our bullshit if something didn't match up. But instead, JAXA releases an image that backs us up. That backs up that the terrain that we are seeing is the same terrain that we saw in those fucking images. JAXA, Japanese, the country that we nuked twice, not once, but twice. We vaporized their shit, dude, twice. And if anyone was going to hold a grudge, it would have been them. But yet their terrain map shows that the background images fit exactly what we're seeing here. And guess what? That data, the data from Selene, which is the nickname for Kaguya, or Kaguya is the nickname for Selene, whichever the case is the same craft. That data is also what is being used on Google Moon, along with data from the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter. These two orbiters aren't disagreeing with each other. They are confirming each other. We have cross-confirmation between two different space agencies that show that this shit actually happened. This shit was actually real. Those images are showing terrain that is listed in the images, and is showing it in 3D, beautiful 3D, that anyone can verify for themselves on Google. So, Craig, when I did my measurements to St. George's crater, guess what my value was? It was 4.7 kilometers.
Oh, that sounds familiar.
4.7 kilometers. Isn't that weird?
Yeah, it's almost like that's the actual distance to those mountains.
Exactly. So if you wanted to go over parallax with the images alone, I will say this. One, there is no observable parallax once the distortion has been fixed, which I will go ahead and admit, the Conspiratard on that conspiracy website did a really good job correcting for the skewing and the distortion that we saw in the images. Two, the parallax in the foreground is exactly what we should expect. It's accurate. It could be as accurate to as close as 6%, depending on how you overlay the images, but there's always going to be some error because, again, there's distortion in the image. And also, moving on from there, we have independent verification that the terrain is what NASA said it was during the Apollo programs, and this has come from a country that we quite literally nuked twice. Now, is any of this going to be convincing to Ace? Of course not.
No, he's already claiming that he's still won in the chat. He says Reds owes me $500, even after watching you present the evidence and the math that backs up your evidence.
Yes.
Now, are we sure he's not a Flerf? Because he's acting very much like a Flerf.
Yeah, probably a Flerf. But I do want to point out one other thing, and this is going to be kind of like my final nail in the coffin for this. And the reason why I wanted to save this to the very end is because I'm not sure how to say it. It tickles my cackles. It tickles the cackles. The cackles have been tickled. So I want you to share three images right now. So the first image that I want you to show, Craig, is going to be this one. I saved this for the very end because fuck that kid.
Okay.
So this is where I conclusively win the bet. So I need you, underneath where you said okay, there is an image being shown there from the Apollo 15 landing site. It has only the rover in the shot, just barely on the left side of the image.
Yep, I know the one you mean. Bear with me, I'll get that up.
I saved the best for last, people. I saved the best for last.
245.
All right, there's the image right there. So I want people to get this image lodged in their brain. I want people to really, really look at this image. I want people to just get it locked in. And we'll give them a few seconds to just stare at it for a few seconds. We'll give it a few seconds just to stare at it. You know, stare at it for a few seconds. Just take a few seconds and stare at it. Stare at it for a few seconds. Do you think they got it?
Possibly. Just give them 5 seconds. Just
give them five more seconds.
Burn this into your brain. All right.
Just burn it in there. All right, good. All right, so let's go ahead and go to the next image that I sent you, the one just below that.
246. That's the wrong one, Craig.
Sorry, take your time. Gives us more time to actually stare at this image.
And there we go.
All right, this is my view from Google. Look familiar?
Very.
The terrain seems to match quite well, doesn't it? So that is my view. That is how I position the camera from simulated ground level. Now, can you go ahead and do the image that's just below that?
Yeah. 247. This one?
Yes, and that is the image from the Kaguya spacecraft. That is the same one that we just saw in the video. So we have 3 separate pieces of confirmation here that I want to highlight. 1, we have confirmation from the Apollo missions. 2, we have confirmations from Google, which is using a combination of scans. And 3, we have confirmation from just JAXA. So LRO, JAXA, the Apollo missions, they're all confirming each other. The landscape is exactly the same as well as the scales intended. So with that, that's where we go over to the next set of images, which is, in my opinion, some of the best. So I'm going to send you an image, Craig, and I want you to share it if you can.
Absolutely.
So there it is. So go ahead and share that image when you have a moment.
Save. Bring you over there. And okay. There we go.
That is the exact spot of the Apollo 15 landing site. I simply turned off 3D grid. I turned off the 3D model of the lander, and I'm exactly where the astronauts would be standing. Now, Craig, can you please compare that to the first image that I sent you, the very first one that I sent you?
The very
just
first
blink
one.
between. Yes, just blink between 2, because I'm going to point out some things that I really want Ace to understand here. Okay, so, Craig, I'm going to ask you to point out some things for me, okay?
Okay.
All right, go back to the Apollo image. Good. I want you to find the white crater that is just on the lip of St. George's crater. The white little splotchy bit.
What about it,
It's
sorry?
just on the... can you use your cursor, your mouse, and just hover over the white spot that is on the lip of the crater in the background?
Yeah, the mouse doesn't show on the images.
Okay. All right, but can you at least... but you see it, right? Okay.
Yeah, the one...
Now
look at the leg of the lander. It's about 3/4 of the way up to the right.
There you go. Perfect. Now, please click over to my image, which again is using the data from Kaguya and LRO, which we already verified is showing the accurate terrain. Can you see where that crater is in this image?
Yeah.
Or that little white spot?
Absolutely.
Oh, interesting. Very, very interesting. Okay, can we please...
You can't say that. That's journalisms.
Oh, yeah. If you say it 3 times really fast, he shows up.
Oh, God, really? Shit.
Yeah. All right, and now let's go back to the next image. Please go to the next image that we saw. The next image that I sent you.
So
it was the second. Yeah, the second one I ever sent you.
This one.
Yes. Now this one is very important. This was actually the most important image because if you see that peak, it is the peak that is more to the right of the image. You will see that you can see the face of that hill all the way down until there is a sharp cut. And you see that the broad side of that hill is also being partially obscured by the hill that contains St. George's crater. It goes down, and also you see that the shadow on that hill cuts. See how there's a hard line right there?
Yeah.
Now what I would like for you to do is go back to my image, the one that I have of this location. From there it is. You can see in this image that the peak is being partially obscured by the hillside that contains St. George's crater, and that there is in fact a hard cut by the hill that is closer to the observer. So once again, the terrain is matching. So here's basically where it comes down to. Parallax measurements done from the images show that there's no issue with the foreground, or that, for that matter, even the background after the distortion correction has been made. Independent verification of the terrain shows that, hey, guess what? The terrain does have a fall off, which can cause a shearing. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to get this fucking image showing such. When you do further analysis into it, you see that since the terrain matches, measurements can be made. And that crater is indeed 4.7 kilometers away and not only, what do you say, 300 meters away?
Yeah, about that.
So we also have this verification coming from a country who we've nuked twice, and they haven't held a grudge against us, even though they had a 2-year head start to call out our bullshit. So the math checks out, the independent verification checks out, and at this point, I just have to ask, does he want to write me a check, or does he prefer PayPal?
He's saying that he hasn't seen your math. I mean, was he not paying attention when you went through the math?
I mean, I can go through it again if you would like.
All right, just quickly go through it. And Ace, pay attention. Okay. Reds is going to talk you through the math.
Okay. So the big crater right there is St. George's crater. All right. A baseline, which is a sidestep, which is the sidestep that the astronaut took when taking the 2 images. About less than a meter, so I said 3/4 of a meter because I'm simple like that. So it was 0.75 meters. The distance to the limb, as far as I could tell, was 28.5 meters, comparing that with my best guess using the ruler tool on Google, which is around 93.5 feet. The distance to St. George's crater is around 4,790 meters, which means a parallax at St. George's crater of 0.0089712 degrees. The parallax of the limb should be around 1.525 degrees. Field of view of camera being 25 degrees concludes that the leg should shift in frame with a sidestep of 0.75 meters of 1/16 of the width of the image, and the background should have no visible shift whatsoever. Figure 29, your own conspiracy website, shows that no shift in the background was there once the correction has been made to the distortion that is in the images. Distortion does not equal parallax, and when it's corrected for, there is no parallax. So the only thing to confirm there is to see if there is any parallax, or if the parallax is within acceptable range for the foreground. So the image, the output image, was 540 pixels wide. The shift on the left, which is on the footpads of the landing module, the shift was around 25 pictures in that particular image. The shift to the right in that particular image was around 55 pixels, which you can see with the line on the right and the arrows pointing to it. So the ratio for the left was 1/23, and the ratio for the right was 1/11. This resulted in an average of 0.0665, with the predicted, again 1/16, being the result of 0.0625. This means that we have an answer that is accurate to within 6%. But again, I must say that the accuracy of the value varies between 6% and 15%, which means there's an 85% chance in the worst possible light that you are full of shit. And as far as the rest of the math goes in confirming distance, that's where being external to the pictures comes in. JAXA, LRO, they all confirm the topography of the environment that the Apollo 15 crew were in. Their images confirm, or those images that they took during the Apollo 15 missions, confirmed the topography that was found with independent missions from JAXA and LRO. And when that data is combined into Google Earth, which you can switch to Moon View, it all matches perfectly with the images that we have from Apollo 15, and you can scale everything up, you can measure everything up, and it will make sense. It all checks out. So we stuck within the images, and then we go external to the images to do even more investigation, and all of it checks out. There is not a single piece of this puzzle that screams conspiracy. So here are my two conclusions based on all of this. Conclusion number one, there is indeed a fall off, and that fall off can cause a shearing effect. We confirmed that with a more accurate topography map, which is a shit ton more accurate than what he used on his conspiracy website. Conclusion number two, those craters are indeed kilometers away via independent investigation by JAXA, given the measurements that can be done with the combined images or the combined data from JAXA and the LRO, and that this once again shows that simply believing everything based on pure confirmation bias will get you nowhere.
Yeah.
And so for that, would he like my PayPal information? Actually, fuck it. I already know for a fact he's going to say that he's won, or that what I did was
he's
not
saying,
good enough for him.
Right, there's two things he's saying. What about the parallax at the top of the mountain, and put the maths on screen, not just read it off, because apparently listening isn't one of his skills. But I'm just going to read off a few super chats. Cat Nerd David for $5. It's no use, the idiot, ding. That Lost is just screaming the same thing over and over. Nice job, Reds. Hope he eventually pays. We all know he won't. Sarcastic Barman for £5. As awesome as this is, got a run, date night, love the vid. P.S. Thompson, go eat some food. Yeah, Nathan Thompson, if you turn sideways and stick your tongue out, you look like a zip. $5 from the Affin619. After this destruction that Red did to Ace, Red should rename himself Akuna. What a one-piece joke. And Bella Charge for $5 New Zealand dollars. Here's 1% Reds. The little boy won't ever pay up.
Ah, thank you, man.
Yeah, but he says, what about the parallax at the top of the mountain? And now he says, as I predicted in the video on the account you shadow banned, I don't think you know how YouTube works. I don't have an ability to shadow ban anything. Oh my god, you're fucking stupid. Reds was going to base his nonsense off the OLED GIF with the distortion grid. He didn't. Have you not been fucking paying attention? Reds went to the fucking actual images from Google Moon and based his calculations off of that shit. Not at one point did and Ace, if you spam the same thing more than once, I will time you out. All right? Stop saying the same thing, because it doesn't. He did not base his calculations off of the distortion grid at all. Did you, Reds?
No, I didn't. The distortion grid was merely to show, could every pixel, every grain of sand, every dust speck on the background be accounted for? You can do that with or without the distortion grid. It's just that when you correct for the distortion, it makes our job a fuck ton easier. I'm not using the distortion grid to get parallax measurements. I'm doing that to see if there is any shift, if there's any new data being introduced into the image. Because here's the thing. With a parallax value of 0.008971 degrees, which, by the way, I gathered from math, and if you want that, I will spell it out very slowly for you. Alpha equals 2 times the arctan of G over 2R. Alpha is the value that we're trying to find. 2 times the arctan of G, which is your diameter, which would be 0.75 meters, and then R being your distance would be 4,790 meters. Do the math yourself.
But
do I need to say it even slower for you, dumbass?
Do you remember what happened when we asked him about the equations and we said, well, which equation's the right one? And he went, the one with the tangent in.
Yeah, the one with the tangent, and I love that one. I'm like, all of them have tangents, you fuck.
Yeah, didn't you say that maths was a strong point?
The math was a strong point, but here's the thing. This is where I want to make 2 points on that. Remember when I gave the example of the cylinder that had a line of dots around its circumference? If you were to turn that can, you would start to see a dot of a different color, i.e. new information. All right? That new information could not be overlaid with the previous image that you took from a different angle. That's what we're trying to see. That's a very simplistic example of what we're trying to see with the mountain. But literally every rock, every dot, every smudge, every speck, every crater can be accounted for. Every single one. So Ace, I have a challenge for you. Find one piece of information that is new that wasn't in the previous image. You won't be able to do it. I was staring at this thing till my eyes fucking burned for 2 fucking hours looking for any sort of additional information. There was none. So we have parallax measurements that are being made, not based on the distorted images, but based on literally the topography itself. Because 0.008971 degrees should result in practically nothing. Hey, Craig, let me ask you a question. How close to 0 is 0.008971 degrees? Am I correct in saying it's really fucking close to 0?
It's not 0, but it's pretty fucking close to 0.
Pretty fucking close to 0. So that means we should see no shift in that topography. We should see no additional information by it peeking over a hill from parallax, right? We should see none. Am I correct in saying that?
You are correct. Oh my goodness.
Yes,
Ace,
and guess...
Ace now says, still waiting for the reveal of the equations, not just have them read off on mic. I know my other account is shadow banned. Fuck's sake, Ace. I don't have the ability to shadow ban anyone on YouTube, and Reds has now twice, 3 times maybe, taught you through the maths. I mean, you could just listen. Stop being a fucking mental person.
Yeah, so with that being said, that also means that that since there is no shift in, there's no additional information in the topography, the parallax is so slight that it's practically 0. And that was the point. There was no shift in the background. We weren't getting exact measurements off of that. We were just checking to see if the information was still there. All the information that was there previously, and no new information was introduced. Now, you can do that with the original images, but the one shown in figure 29 actually makes life a whole lot easier because it shows that there was no additional information in the shot. And with that, I went to external. I went outside of the 2 images because I'm not going to limit myself like this jackass did and run off confirmation bias. I actually went to other independent sources like JAXA and LRO, used their combined data to confirm if the landscape matched the images that we got from Apollo 15. And guess what? They matched perfectly. And when you measure it out, using the data that we've already confirmed verifies the Apollo 15 images, we get a distance to crater of 4.79 kilometers.
Boom.
That is me wiping my hands clean of this subject from this point forward. Ace, you can go ahead and continue to claim that I didn't answer your challenge. You can go ahead and claim that that I didn't win anything. But keep in mind, that was not my ultimate goal here. My ultimate goal here was to get people educated enough so that whenever you bring up this stupid fucking argument again, people are quick to call you out on your bullshit. They'll say, actually, I do remember when you brought this argument against Reds Rhetoric, and he, much of the annoyance of his mail-order bride, decided to deep dive this shit and royally shoved it up your ass.
Oh my god.
So,
in the chat, he's just said in the chat, oh whoa, the terrain matches. What evidence? Yes, that is fucking evidence, you mental person.
See, this is exactly what I'm talking about. Basically, if you have a strong, deeply held belief that the Apollo missions did not happen, nothing that is said by me or you or anyone else is going to change that. So yes, the topography scans from a country that we nuked twice matches the terrain that we were able to capture during the Apollo 15 missions. The topography scans combined from LRO, Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter, and Kaguya agree with each other. Again, the Japanese are agreeing with the Americans, the same Americans that nuked them twice back in WW2. And from there, we're able to do a 3D tour of the moon, which we can use to verify if the terrain shown in those images actually match what we see with the topography scans. And guess what? They match perfectly. And when you measure it all out, it comes out to 4.79 kilometers, which, if you remember from the video that we saw, there was no 3D scanning technology back in the 1970s that could make such measurements. That's exactly why Japan and even the Americans waited until 2009 until such technology became available. And they decided to launch that shit into an orbit around the moon.
Yeah, but so remember, NASA have got technology 50 years ahead of everybody else.
Interesting. So Ace, I'm going to go ahead and say this once and hopefully for the final time. Drop this fucking argument. It's shit. And now my hope is not for $500. My hope is that everybody understands that whenever Ace makes this argument, he is chatting shit. With that, I would like to move on to T-Stew, if I can.
Yeah, I think Ace wants to come in and talk to you about it, if you're willing to have him in.
Cool. Can we deal with T-Stew first?
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. And by the way, Ace, I will go ahead and talk to you, but we're doing this on my channel. You're coming to my house, buddy.
That's fair enough. Ace, after this hangout, if you want to talk to Reds, you can go onto his channel and talk to him about the evidence he has presented. Is that fair?
Yep. I think that's good. But let's talk to T-Stew. So if I remember correctly, T-Stew had two challenges. One confirmed that atmosphere is contained without a container, and two, demonstrate how water curves. Like show me a like water curving. When does level water become curved water?
Let me get his video up so we can listen to what the words he uses, because the words he uses are so fucking stupid. Like helium balloon. My thing about challenges like this is they don't actually understand the heliocentric model, so the challenge doesn't even make sense in the first place. Okay, let me get this up and I'll play T-Stew. I'm going to put him in double speed because flat earthers have this habit of talking really fucking slowly.
Oh, wait, hang on. At FTFE, they didn't need 3D scanning of the surface. They inferred the surface from the shadows from the sun at different angles.
Oh,
see,
my
that's the
fucking God.
That's the difference between an inference and an actual 3D scan, you dumb fuck. The 3D scan is going to be more accurate.
So he'd rather go with the inference than the actual data.
Yes, seriously. Dude, what the actual fuck? Dude, what the actual... Are you trying to get nominated for Dumb Fuck of the Year? Because you're doing a really good fucking job with that. The reason why the topographical maps that you showed on your conspiracy website are deceptively smooth is because they weren't accurate enough to show the hills, bumps, and crevices that show the fall off. And the reason why they weren't accurate is because they were inferred based on what they could do at the time. But now technology has improved, and we can actually get 3D scans of this shit. Again, the interpretation of reality doesn't dictate reality. Reality is the final arbiter of truth. Our goal is to construct the most accurate map as possible. And when you have the ability to make a more accurate map, you go for that. And when we have a more accurate map and we compare it to the images that were gathered from Apollo 15, they match perfectly. And these maps were not gathered by NASA at first. They were gathered by JAXA, which is a country we nuked twice. If anyone was going to hold a grudge and would be more than happy to call us out on our bullshit, it would be the Japanese.
Absolutely.
The country we nuked twice. So you would rather go with the inference. You would rather go with the inference, something that was inferred based on shadows, which you know good goddamn it well is not as accurate as actual laser scans or shit like that with an actual topography camera that is designed to make 3D scans of the entire surface. You would rather go with that. No, you're going to go with something that was inferred back during the Apollo missions, which you know is not going to be anywhere near as accurate as what it is today. You're a dumbass, and you're a cherry picker.
He just hurt my brain with his latest comment. Okay, so I actually describe how NASA inferred the topographic info. You guys have no response. Have you not been watching for the past 1 hour and 10 minutes where Reds did his fucking response? Jesus Christ. A few more super chats. I have $2 from Raven Zero. Okay, is officially Reds. Join the Rip and Tear team. $6.66 Hail Sagan from NANA. I think Nathan Thompson really wants Dumbfuck of the Year. JM for Dumbfuck of the Year. No, Riley, we all know that. 150, I think that's New Taiwan dollars from CN Videos. Thank you. Flerfs checkmated. 20 Nokias from Fantarang. Riley for Dumbfuck of the Year. Nice time for a stream. More. $2 from No Doubt. Is Ace Nathan Thompson's long lost child? If he is, then Nathan Thompson probably dropped him on his head a few times. And another $5 New Zealand from Bella Charge. Everyone go to his video and comments with "Put up, boy." Keep doing it until he pays up. Yeah, everyone, let's get the hashtag #PayReds going.
Yeah, I like that. I see people are already hard at work in the live chat. But here's the thing: it doesn't matter, Ace, how they inferred the information. The fact is that it was inferred information. What JAXA did and what LRO did later on was get direct measurements, direct scans of the Apollo 15 surface.
And let's just reiterate what
that is going to be so much better than any inference. You can infer and you can do the best job you can. And you know what? I'm not blaming the people who made the topography maps back in the day. They had a limited number of ways that they could make this map, and that was simply the limitations at the time. But we no longer have those limitations. And since reality is the arbiter of truth, let's go back to the moon, get a scan, and see if the shit matches. And guess what? They did that. JAXA built the craft, they launched the shit, got it to the moon, did scans of the Apollo 15 surface, and guess what? It matched perfectly.
Perfectly.
So you know what? Dude? Don't make this fucking argument again. It's shit. Okay, can we get back to T-Stew?
Yes, it's one more super chat for £2. Sir Buckling Castard Funt QCMP. Ace is an absolute bounder. Yes, what a bounder he is. All right, so yeah, T-Stew. So T-Stew has put out this challenge. £100,000 for Baltards. Let's listen to what the mental patient says. T-Stew, I hope you're in the chat because I know you're a coward.
Well, hello. Good day. How's everyone doing? Just wanted to touch base real quick on my $100,000 challenge. A lot of people are saying, oh, I doubt you even have the money, and this and this and that, and blah, blah, blah. Well, the challenge is for any globetard that can show me, using the scientific method, observing, measuring, and repeating sea level turning to sea curve.
Right. Let's just talk about that one first. Sea level turning to sea curve. That sentence doesn't even fucking mean anything.
Yeah.
Reds, do you know what the actual definition of level is from the Merriam-Webster dictionary?
Well, not from that particular dictionary, but I assume it's going to say something along the lines of perpendicular to the pull of gravity.
Well, the Merriam-Webster dictionary defines level as conforming to the curvature of the liquid parts of Earth's surface, or with no part being higher than another with relative to the surface below it. Meaning that level is curved. So sea level is a fucking curve, Stu. So no one's going to show you sea level turning to sea curve, because that doesn't actually mean anything. Sea level is a fucking curve, because level means curved.
Basically, the question is malformed. The question that I think he's trying to ask, and T-Stu can probably correct me later in this, but he's trying to say, show me evidence of water curving. That's basically, show me a large body of water curving. Because when I personally look at a huge body of water, it looks flat to me. So show me evidence that big bodies of water can indeed curve. Well, I got some great news for you, T-Stu. I did that multiple times, actually, but...
Should I get your blink test?
Yeah, get my blink test up. So let's go ahead and debunk this shit, because what I did was I took the flat earther camera of choice, which was the Nikon P1000, and I went ahead and got him the measurements that he is looking for, or the observations that he's looking for. Because remember, he said observations, so there we go. So with that, let me wait for you to get it up.
Yeah, one sec. Come on, BMX. Oh, yes, because I'm trying to do the wrong one, my bad. Screen 2. And that'll be this one at the bottom. Here we go. Alright,
let's watch this through.
I'll just speed it up.
Go ahead and full screen that shit.
Yeah.
Alright, so that is the camera, the Nikon P1000, the flat earther camera of choice. So where I am is I'm at the north side of the Skyway Bridge. And I am finding Tampa on the horizon, which is a little over 24 miles away. Now, after I found Tampa on the horizon, I went ahead and I snapped a few images of the skyline. And what I did was I found another image of this exact, roughly in this direction, and I blinked between the two. Now, this image is from a lot closer and taken from a few stories up. So here you can actually see that blinking between the two, the horizon starts to obscure damn near 300 feet of the towers.
It's weird, that.
It's amazing how that shit works, right?
Are those people underwater?
I mean, if they are, they're probably dead at this point.
Someone should get some help.
Oh, the humanity! But here, I actually labeled the top of the towers and the top of the horizon, and you can see the top of the towers does not shift, but the horizon does with distance. And that distance was, hey Craig, answer this question for me. Was that distance over water? Was that distance over water?
That depends. Is Tampa Bay full of water?
The last time I checked, I think it was full of water and not full of concrete.
Right, then it was definitely over water.
It was definitely over water. Okay, so if the water of Tampa Bay is blocking literally 300 feet of the towers, and the people at Tampa aren't all, dead, what conclusions can be drawn from that, I wonder?
Maybe that there's something blocking the buildings that could be, I don't know,
could that
curved water?
Could that something? So would that be the curvature of the Earth?
Well, if you, again, go to the Merriam-Webster dictionary definition of level, which says conforming to the curvature of the liquid parts of Earth's surface, that certainly matches up with your observation there.
Interesting. So that's I think we can say one is down. So since it's starting to smell like bitch up in here, can we go to the next claim that he makes?
Yeah, let me get his video back up. T-Stu, I hope you're paying attention, moron. One of the more abusive Flerfs that I've come across. And I know he's too much of a bitch to ever come and debate.
And of course, while they're at it, they're also going to need, while using the scientific method, to verify, measure, repeat, and observe the second law of thermodynamics being violated by having a gas pressure system next to a vacuum without a solid barrier.
Do you like that straw man there, T-Stew? That's a lovely straw man you're putting up there.
Yeah, lovely straw man, the second law of thermodynamics. The second law of thermodynamics applies to closed systems. By the way, Stu, I don't know if you've been informed of this, but the Earth is not a closed system!
Nope.
Okay, so basically, I know what he's trying to say. He's like, show me gas pressure existing next to the Earth and no container between us and the vacuum of space. Again, the question that he's asking is malformed. We know this, but let's go ahead and talk about that. Fight the Flat Earth. Would you like me to find my video, or do you know which one I'm talking about?
Do you mean the rocket launch one?
Oh, you do know. I like how great minds think alike. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to send you this.
Yeah.
Yep, it's coming your way in 3, 2, 1.
And just as we're getting up, I want to point out one thing for T-Stew. So you say that the gas pressure of Earth can't exist next to the vacuum of space. Now, the reason that is a straw man is because there isn't gas pressure next to the vacuum of space. That isn't a thing, and it isn't part of our model. What there is a pressure gradient going from 14.7 psi up to about 0.000001 psi. Now, my question to you, T-Stew, is do we need a barrier between the 14.7 psi and the 14.6 psi that our atmosphere has in it? Is there a barrier between those, Reds?
No, barrier? No, there is no barrier.
Right. So why would we need a barrier between between 0.0002 and 0.0001?
I don't fucking know. Fucking magic?
Magic indeed. Right, got your video up.
All right, perfect. So with that video, before you play it, I need to make something explicitly clear.
Yeah.
Explicitly clear. For any flat earther that wants to say that this video is fake, what you're seeing right now is the 4K version. This was the version that I filmed, or the version that I uploaded after I got back. There is also a live version, which is slightly less quality, that shows me, well, filming it live. This isn't CGI, so don't fucking come at me with that shit. But anyway, Fight the Flat Earth, can you please do me a favor and fast forward to 2 minutes and 30 seconds? All right, now pause it right here. Pause it right here. Now, allow me to explain, to T-Stu, let me speak his language. I'm going to learn you something that you should have learned when you were in school. So, as the rocket gains altitude, what's going to happen is there's going to be less and less atmospheric pressure squeezing the gases on all sides, okay? And as the rocket gains altitude, the less atmospheric pressure that's squeezing the exhaust gases will allow the exhaust gases from the rocket to expand more and more. As the rocket continues to gain altitude, it will continue to expand because, once again, there is less and less atmospheric pressure. And they'll keep going and keep going and keep going until the gases have expanded so wide that the gases become damn near invisible, the gases that are being expelled from the rocket. So, Fight the Flat Earth, can you please full screen that shit and hit play and let's see what happens. That is the explanation, but does this actually happen in reality? Well, what you are seeing, my friend, is the Atlas V 551 rocket going into the sunshine while it is still dark over my portion of the Earth, because, you know, the Earth is round and that's how our model works. It's almost as though our model comports with reality. It's funny how that works.
It's strange.
So,
it's weird, yeah.
It is weird. I do agree. So here you can see the illuminated gases. Now, because the gases are illuminated, we can see how they behave with the falling of atmospheric pressure. or we can see if they do expand at all, thus indicating a lowering of atmospheric pressure. Oh, look at that. The gases are getting slightly wider.
And what would cause that? Is it something like a lack in atmospheric pressure or a reduction in atmospheric?
It's getting lower as it gets higher in altitude. Now correct me if I'm wrong, but that rocket's not exploding by smashing into a dome.
No, definitely not. Definitely not.
No explosion. No explosion by crashing into a magical fucking dome. Oh wow! Now the gases are expanding so wide, I literally need to zoom out to capture the whole thing.
Weird.
It's weird. Oh look!
I mean, your CGI game is really good, Reds. I mean, can you teach?
Especially given the fact, especially given the fact I did this shit live.
I know, right?
So look at that, and this is the 4K version. So look at that! Look at that! Now the gases are expanding even wider than my viewing angle, which I had to already zoom out to catch.
It's almost
so they're
like
still
the
expanding.
Yeah, it's almost like the rocket's heading into like a near vacuum or something.
Yeah, go figure, right? And so now as it starts occupying the entire frame, what I do here at this part of the video is I zoom out even more. So now you can see just how fucking wide this thing is. It's fucking massive. The gases have expanded so wide that if you were actually staying there, it would be many times the diameter of the moon in the sky. And see, now it has expanded so wide that as you get to the outside edges of the gases, they become so slight that you can't even see them anymore. That's Miko, and there you go. Here we have a observation that demonstrates atmospheric pressure fall off as altitude is gained. As the rocket gains altitude, there is less atmospheric pressure squeezing the rocket gases. Because there's less atmospheric pressure squeezing the rocket gases, the pressure is free to expand in all directions. And that's exactly what happens. That is exactly what is seen. So not only am I owed $500, I'm now owed $100,000 on top of the $500. I'm a rich fucking man.
Yeah, I'll take half of the 100,000.
Fuck you get half of that 500.
Oh, okay, that'll do. Although, interestingly, Ace did just send me a message on Discord. Oh, what a surprise. The V-dip is clearly visible and not obscured by the lander. Seems like Reds was bullshitting some more. What the fuck? I mean, it's like he didn't watch what we just did, you know?
No, he didn't. He was trying to pick holes in real time instead of actually listening.
But I'll send you his details so that he can go on your channel and argue with you about that, most certainly. But yeah, so T-Stew, your two arguments of sea level turning to sea curve, well, that was done because it doesn't even mean anything, and we have clearly demonstrated that there is a curve to the water of Earth, as defined by the Merriam-Webster dictionary, where it says that level is the conforming to the curvature of the liquid parts of Earth's surface. And we also just showed that there is no violation of the second law of thermodynamics because we have a pressure gradient. We are not in a closed system, and that rocket that Reg just showed clearly went into a near vacuum. So yeah, man, we should go on a holiday with all this money, Reds.
Yeah, tell me about it. I had these videos already made. I had these observations already done. Ace is the only one I had to put any serious work into, and it literally took me only 2 hours to go through everything. But I wanted to go even further than just doing a basic debunking of Ace. So I went the extra mile and got the 3D maps and the screenshots and looked into the Kaguya spacecraft and shit like that. This was actually really fun. The point here is that I don't want Ace to come away from this more educated than he previously was, because he's not going to be. He's just going to ignore everything that debunks his moon landing conspiracy bullshit. All right, my hope is for the people in the live chat, and let me know if you guys agree with this. Are you guys at least a little bit more educated than you were previously, so that whenever Ace brings this overly retarded argument to the table ever again, you can point to this moment in time where that shit was not only debunked, but unceremoniously shoved up his ass.
I'm definitely more educated.
I would say, you know, it's a job done. It's a job done as far as I'm concerned.
Very much so.
This was a lot of fun. It really was. I really enjoyed debunking this nonsense. I didn't think I would be deep diving the Apollo 15 ever, because I usually just talk about the geometry of our planet and leave it for that. Yeah, it was. This was some fun. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, and I really appreciate you taking the time to, come onto the debate on Monday and back up what I was saying with your more advanced knowledge than mine, and then obviously go in and doing the extra bit that you've done to conclusively show that that was not a backdrop. And we'll just reiterate what the actual bet was. It was that Reds had to, with maths, show that the mountains were not 300 meters away. And he wasn't allowed to do it with the distorted images, which Reds didn't. He did it based on proper topographical maps, Google Moon, pictures from the Selene lander and stuff. So Reds has met his burden 100%, and Ace now owes him $500. I know he's left the chat now because he got annoyed being called out for being a little coward that isn't going to pay up his bet. But yeah, so Reds, you're definitely owed $500, and also $100,000 by T-Stew, because us Globetards did what he asked.
Yeah, exactly. So when it comes to the bet, like I said, I don't expect to actually get any money from this guy. That's why I wanted him to hand it to you, so that you could hand the money to me. But it is what it is. I was not worried by this fucking challenge, because here's the thing. It is more reasonable, it is vastly more reasonable to believe that the Apollo missions actually happened. I can't unsee what I was able to research. I know that I'm safe in the belief that the Apollo missions actually happened, because there's so much evidence for it. All people have to do is just put in the work. Just put in the work, and you can also debunk shit like I did here. It's not that difficult. It just takes some time. It did take a little bit of time to gather all the details, to do the research, to do the math, that kind of thing. But it's possible. Everyone can do it. And you know what? Go ahead and do your own observations. But I'm going to finish off with this thing. This research that I did for the Apollo 15 missions took 2 pages. Actually 2.5 pages of text and screenshots and pictures and overlays to explain. Ace brought just 1 line of equations to explain all of it away.
Yep.
That is grossly underplaying just how many ways you need to look at this in order to solve this problem. 1 line of equations is not sufficient. I repeat, is not sufficient to answer this challenge. So if he wants to say that I didn't give him 1 complete line of equations that explained it all away, well, I'm sorry, dude. That's because 1 line of equations, a single line of equations that explains it all away, doesn't exist.
Absolutely not. Just a few more super chats. £5 from the Casual Spaceman. I know you wanted to pop in, Casual, but it was just me and Reds going through that. We'll get you in next time. The LEM did not need massive power for transmitter, as Ace claimed. The unified S-band system needed about 0.2 kilowatt hours, which worked on PM and FM modulation. Yeah, so he was talking about it needed like acid-based batteries and stuff. He's a fucking moron. Earth is seriously flat. For $2. Word of the day. Horizon. Horizontal, not curvizon. The word horizon derives from the Greek meaning of bounding circle, not horizontal. Bella Charge, $2 New Zealand. Get Nathan Thompson and team in. I could do it with a laugh. I've sent team a link, and I'll send Nathan one in a minute. Another $2 from Earth is seriously flat. Standard datum plane equals level, not globe. Be smarter. Reds, what was the definition of level again?
Conforming to the curved water parts of the Earth.
Yeah, pretty much. And £2
And,
from
yeah.
Bauer Rat. Love you, FTFE and Reds. My first ever super chat. I am honoured to be your super chat cherry breaking person. Thank you very much. Team, how you doing, man? Oh, I've muted you. My bad.
Well, I was.
There we go.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I was in bed, but then I fucking got these notifications saying that Nathan Thompson was calling me out. It's like he was fucking some badass or something when he wouldn't say shit to me in person.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I got on here to say, hey, let's everything you're saying in the chat still go. Let's do it.
Reds, did you see?
No. Hang on. No. Fight. I'm sick of you having all the fun. If we're gonna have a pissing contest between you and Nathan Thompson, that shit needs to be on my channel. I will set this shit up right now.
Yeah, well, I do need to go and get dinner and stuff sorted for my family, so I'm more than happy for Team and Nathan to take this over to your channel.
Nathan, you are invited. Team, does that sound like a plan?
I mean, yeah, I'm dead tired, but I'm all for fucking. I'm even more of a fucking piece of shit when I'm woke up. So yeah, let's do it.
Reds, did you see how much of a
I'm not
bitch
even
Nathan
fucking
Thompson
kidding.
was?
I get annoyed. I get goddamn annoyed when I'm awake in the morning. Like this is not. I know it's not morning for everybody. It wouldn't even have been that big of a deal, except for that I have roofers right now that are slamming like 300-pound slabs of shingles on top of where I'm fucking sleeping. So yeah, I'm fucking pissed off. And then to hear him talk all this fucking shit after seeing me in person, he could have said every fucking thing he's saying in the chat. He could have told me that in person and chose not to. Why is that?
Absolutely. Did you see how much of a bitch he was, Reds?
I did see a clip of him hiding behind somebody with a smartphone where he said that he was too busy to actually give a fuck. He didn't seem so busy to pull out his smartphone and start recording.
I know, right? So if everyone in the chat doesn't know,
pull out his smartphone and start recording, just too busy to do that, but he already walked past us twice, went and got his goon friend to come back. I mean, he was not busy enough to go ahead and try to come back and start shit. It wasn't him that he thought was going to fucking punk me out. It was his little punk-ass friend who ended up being softer than fucking baby shit.
So if you guys in the chat don't know, there was recently the biggest collection of dumb fucks on the planet, the Flat Earth International Conference in Dallas, Texas, which just happens to be the place where Team Skeptic lives. So Team and MC Toon and a couple others made their way down to have some talks with the members of this collection of dumb fucks. MC Toon was there before Team and met up with Nathan Thompson, and Nathan Thompson agreed that he would talk to Team when Team turned up. A couple hours later, Team turned up, and Nathan Thompson was nowhere to be seen. Except he was. He walked past Team, pretended he didn't see him. Then, when Team went to shake his hand, pretended that he didn't know him.
Yeah.
And like kind of like, you know, hey, I'm Nate, shake my upside down hand. And then, even though he'd already seen him twice, he was too busy to see Team, but he sent a bodyguard over to speak to Team. Oh, what's your problem? You the smart guys who come down to fucking debunk us, have you? Oh my god, it's like, what the actual fuck? Lee Williams, did you send a super chat at the beginning?
He got
Because
fucking, and then his little goon, his little fucking goon that he had, I'm telling you, came over and was like, thought he was just gonna come over and be like, oh, who the fuck are you guys? And everybody's gonna be like, oh, we're sorry, mister. Yeah, we're a group of nerds over here. Well, yeah, we are. But guess what? Nerd culture's changed since Revenge of the Nerds. Now we know how to fucking defend ourselves. And I'm not about to fucking let none of you guys come up and push me out of the fucking way.
No.
And that's exactly what he's trying to fucking do. He's trying to bully us to get us out of the way. Fuck him.
Yeah.
Right, so guys,
so are we ready?
If you want this to continue,
let's
then head over to Red's channel, where Reds is going to set up a hangout right now. Nathan Thompson, you're invited to go onto the hangout with Team Skeptic and say the things that you were too chicken to say in person. T-Stew, you owe Reds $100,000. Ace, you owe Reds $500. I did see a super chat from Lee Williams, but it seems to have disappeared off my screen. So Lee, I'm sorry. If you want to type your message, I'll read that out. Got another $2 from Earth is Seriously Flat. Team Skeptic, you're a VIP guest for next meetup, apparently.
Cool.
Yeah.
Hey, thank you, Earth is Seriously Flat. I'll go and have the same conversation with you or anybody else that I had with Mark Sargent. It was a great, peaceful conversation. I can easily have that type of talk with anybody, including Nathan Thompson. But his bitch ass was so scared because he thought I was going to just start hitting him because of all the bullshit he said to me online.
I mean,
with
you-
the
you'd
fucking
be
internet
fucking-
between us.
Yeah.
We removed that distance. We removed that virtual distance right there, and he folded like a bitch.
I mean, you'd have been within your
Folded
rights
like
to
a
hit him with the
pussy
things
would.
he said. But later on today, guys, 1 a.m. UK time, I'm having JM Truth on the channel to give his side of the whole Shelley Lewis behind the playing curve, whatever it is, breaking up. And then after that, we're going to have a hangout on Team's channel to discuss what JM has said. But at the moment, we're going to shut all this down. Thank you, Reds, for coming on and doing that. I really appreciate it. If you guys want to head over to Reds Rhetoric's channel now, he is going to get something set up so Nathan Thompson and team can have a chat. But for now, remember, guys, stupidity is not a right. Fight the flat earth.
Fight the flat. Fight the flat.